In the vast landscape of human interaction, respect stands as a towering peak, coveted by all, yet attained by few. It's the currency of social dynamics, the lubricant that smooths the gears of cooperation, and the foundation upon which all meaningful relationships are built. But here's the rub. Respect isn't handed out like party favors. It's earned, often through a grueling process of proving oneself worthy. Now, you might be thinking, surely respect is something that takes time to cultivate. How could anyone possibly command it instantly? And you'd be right to be skeptical. After all, we're not talking about cheap tricks or manipulative tactics. We're delving into the profound depths of human psychology, exploring the intricate dance of words and perception that shapes our social reality.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
What I'm about to share with you are not mere tricks in the superficial sense. They're verbal strategies rooted in a deep understanding of human nature, honed through millennia of social evolution. These are the tools that have been used by great leaders, charismatic speakers, and influential thinkers throughout history to command attention, inspire action, and yes, earn instant respect. But before we dive into these strategies, we need to understand what respect truly is. It's not just admiration or awe, though those can be components. At its core, respect is a recognition of value. When we respect someone, we're acknowledging that they possess qualities or capabilities that are worth our attention and consideration. And here's the key insight. This recognition can occur in an instant, triggered by the right words delivered in the right way. The first verbal strategy we'll explore is what I call the authority anchor. This involves establishing your credibility right out of the gate, not through bragging or self-aggrandizement, but by demonstrating a deep understanding of the subject at hand. It's about showing, not telling. For example, instead of saying, "I'm an expert in this field," you might say, "In my 20 years of studying this phenomenon, I've observed a pattern that challenges conventional wisdom. Do you see the difference?" The latter statement not only conveys experience, but also hints at unique insights, immediately positioning you as someone worth listening to. But here's where it gets tricky. The authority anchor isn't just about what you say, it's about how you say it. Your tone should be confident but not arrogant, assured but not dismissive of other viewpoints. It's a delicate balance, one that requires practice and self-awareness to master. And let's not forget the importance of timing. The authority anchor is most effective when deployed early in an interaction, before others have had a chance to form concrete opinions about you. It sets the tone for the entire exchange, subtly influencing how your subsequent words and actions will be perceived. Now you might be wondering, isn't this just another form of manipulation? And it's a fair question. After all, we're talking about consciously using language to shape others' perceptions. But here's the crucial distinction. The authority anchor, when used ethically, is about accurately representing your expertise and insights in a way that others can quickly recognize and appreciate. It's not about creating a false image, but about efficiently communicating your true value. Think about it this way. In any social interaction, people are constantly making split-second judgments about each other. They're asking themselves, is this person worth my time and attention? By using the authority anchor, you're simply providing them with the information they need to make an accurate assessment, and you're doing it in a way that cuts through the noise of first impressions. But here's the catch. The authority anchor is only effective if it's backed up by genuine knowledge and expertise. You can't fake your way through this. If you try to establish authority in an area where you lack real understanding, it will quickly become apparent, and any respect you might have gained will evaporate, replaced by skepticism or even contempt. This brings us to a fundamental truth about earning respect. It must be built on a foundation of authenticity. The verbal strategies we're discussing are not about creating a false persona, but about effectively communicating your true self, your real strengths and insights. The second verbal strategy is what I call the empathy bridge. This technique involves demonstrating a deep understanding of the other person's perspective, even if you don't agree with it. It's about showing that you've truly listened and considered their viewpoint before offering your own. Here's how it might look in practice. Instead of immediately countering someone's argument, you might say, "I can see why you'd think that, given X and Y factors. It's a perspective that many intelligent people share." Then you can follow up with, "However, there's another angle to consider." This approach accomplishes several things simultaneously. First, it shows respect for the other person's intelligence and point of view, which naturally inclines them to reciprocate that respect. Second, it positions you as a thoughtful, fair-minded individual who considers multiple perspectives before drawing conclusions. And third, it creates an opening for you to present your own views in a way that's more likely to be received openly. The empathy bridge is particularly powerful because it taps into a fundamental human need, the desire to be understood. When someone feels that you've truly heard and comprehended their position, they're far more likely to extend you the same courtesy. It creates a foundation of mutual respect upon which productive dialogue can be built. But wielding this technique effectively requires more than just parroting back what the other person has said. It demands active listening, the ability to quickly analyze and synthesize information, and the emotional intelligence to accurately gauge the other person's feelings and motivations. Moreover, the empathy bridge must be deployed with sincerity. If it comes across as a mere rhetorical tactic, it will backfire, making you seem manipulative rather than empathetic. The key is to genuinely strive to understand the other person's perspective, even if you ultimately disagree with it. This brings us to a deeper truth about human interaction. Respect is often reciprocal. When we demonstrate respect for others' viewpoints, we create an environment where our own views are more likely to be respected in turn. It's a form of social alchemy, transforming potential conflict into mutual understanding. But let's not be naive. The empathy bridge isn't always easy to construct, especially when we're dealing with viewpoints that we find fundamentally wrong or even morally repugnant. In such cases, the challenge is to find a way to acknowledge the humanity of the other person without validating ideas that we believe to be harmful. This is where the true test of our character and communication skills comes into play. Can we maintain our principles while still creating space for dialogue? Can we disagree without being disagreeable? These are the questions that separate true masters of social interaction from mere technicians. As we navigate these complex waters, we must always keep in mind the ultimate goal, not just to be respected, but to be worthy of respect. The verbal strategies we're discussing are not ends in themselves, but means to facilitate genuine connection and productive exchange of ideas. This brings us to the third verbal strategy, which I call the wisdom window. This technique involves framing your insights not as absolute truths, but as hard-won perspectives gained through experience and reflection. It's about inviting others into your thought process, allowing them to see how you've arrived at your conclusions. For instance, Instead of stating an opinion as fact, you might say, "After grappling with this issue for many years, I've come to believe that," or, "Based on what I've observed, it seems to me that." This approach accomplishes several things. It conveys that your views are the result of serious thought and experience, which instantly commands respect. It also creates an opening for dialogue, implicitly inviting others to share their own perspectives. Moreover, the wisdom window technique demonstrates intellectual humility, which paradoxically tends to increase others' respect for your views. By acknowledging that your perspective is just that, a perspective, you show that you're open to new information and willing to revise your views if presented with compelling evidence. This is the hallmark of a truly wise individual, and it naturally draws respect from others. But here's where it gets really interesting. The wisdom window doesn't just affect how others perceive you, it can actually change how you think. By consistently framing your thoughts in this way, you cultivate a habit of intellectual humility and openness. You become more receptive to new ideas, more capable of synthesizing diverse perspectives, and ultimately, wiser. This is the profound truth that underlies all of these verbal strategies. The way we speak shapes not just how others perceive us, but how we perceive ourselves and the world around us. Our words are not just tools for communication, they're the very building blocks of our reality. So, as we practice these techniques, we're not just learning how to command respect from others. We're embarking on a journey of self-transformation, honing our minds and expanding our understanding of the world and our place in it. But let's be clear, these strategies are not magic bullets. They won't instantly transform you into a universally respected figure. What they will do, however, is create openings for meaningful interaction, establish a foundation of mutual respect, and position you as someone worth listening to. The real work, of course, comes in what follows. Once you've opened the door to respect, you must continually earn it through your actions, your insights, and your character. The verbal strategies we've discussed are just the beginning. They're the spark that ignites the fire of genuine respect. As we conclude this first part of our exploration, I want you to consider this. How often do you truly listen to others with the intent to understand, rather than simply to respond? How frequently do you frame your own views with humility and openness? These are not just rhetorical questions, but invitations to deep self-reflection. For it is only through honest self-examination that we can begin to truly master the art of earning respect. As we delve deeper into the intricate art of commanding respect through our words, we must confront a fundamental truth. Language is not merely a tool for communication, but a force that shapes reality itself. The words we choose, the way we structure our sentences, the tone we adopt, all these elements come together to create a powerful alchemy that can transform the social landscape around us. But let's not delude ourselves. This power comes with immense responsibility. We're not talking about manipulation or cheap tricks. We're exploring the profound depths of human interaction, seeking to understand how we can use language to create genuine connections, foster mutual understanding, and yes, earn respect. Now you might be thinking, this all sounds well and good, but how does it apply in the real world? How can I use these strategies in my daily life? And that's precisely the question we need to grapple with. Because theory without application is just mental masturbation, isn't it? So let's get practical. Let's take these verbal strategies and see how they play out in various scenarios. But remember, we're not looking for scripts to memorize or lines to parrot. We're developing a mindset, a way of approaching communication that naturally commands respect. Consider this scenario. You're in a meeting, presenting an idea that challenges the status quo. The room is filled with skeptical faces. How do you use your words to turn that skepticism into respect? This is where the authority anchor comes into play. You might start by saying, "I've spent the last 6 months analyzing our current approach, and I've identified a pattern that suggests we're overlooking a significant opportunity." Notice how this establishes your credibility without resorting to bragging. You're not saying, "I'm an expert." You're demonstrating your expertise through the depth of your analysis. But here's where many people go wrong. They stop at establishing authority and forget about building connection. That's where the empathy bridge becomes crucial. You might follow up with, "I understand that this proposal represents a significant shift from our current strategy. Many of you have invested considerable time and effort into our existing approach, and I respect the thought and hard work that's gone into it." Do you see what's happening here? You're not just bulldozing through with your idea, you're acknowledging the perspectives and efforts of others in the room. This shows that you're not dismissing their work, but building upon it. It creates a foundation of mutual respect that makes others more likely to seriously consider your proposal. Now, this is where the wisdom window comes into play. Instead of presenting your idea as an absolute truth, you might say, "Based on my analysis, I believe this new approach could significantly improve our outcomes. However, I'm eager to hear your thoughts and insights. Your experience in this field is invaluable, and I'm sure you'll see angles that I might have missed." This framing accomplishes several things. It presents your idea with confidence, but also with humility. It invites dialogue rather than argument, and most importantly, it shows respect for the knowledge and experience of others in the room. But here's the kicker. This approach doesn't just make others more likely to respect you and your ideas. It actually opens you up to genuinely learning from others. By creating a space for open dialogue, you invite insights that could refine and improve your original idea. This is the true power of these verbal strategies. They don't just change how others perceive you, they change how you interact with the world. Now let's shift gears and consider a different scenario. You're having a disagreement with a colleague. Tensions are high, and there's a risk of the conversation devolving into an unproductive argument. How do you use your words to transform this potential conflict into an opportunity for mutual respect and understanding? This is where the empathy bridge becomes absolutely crucial. Instead of immediately countering your colleague's points, you might say, "I can see why you feel strongly about this. Given your experience with X and your concerns about Y, your position makes a lot of sense." Notice what's happening here. You're not agreeing with their position, but you're acknowledging the validity of their perspective. This simple act can often defuse tension and create an opening for more productive dialogue. But don't stop there. Follow up with the wisdom window. In my experience, I've found that situations like this often have nuances that aren't immediately apparent. Perhaps if we explore this issue together, we might discover a solution that addresses both of our concerns. This approach accomplishes several things simultaneously. It shows respect for your colleague's viewpoint. It positions you as someone who's more interested in finding solutions than in being right. And it invites collaboration rather than confrontation. But here's where it gets really interesting. By consistently using these verbal strategies, you're not just changing how others perceive you. You're actually rewiring your own brain. You're training yourself to approach disagreements with empathy and openness. to seek understanding before seeking to be understood. And this, my friends, is where the real power lies, because true respect isn't just about how others see you. It's about becoming the kind of person who naturally commands respect through their character and actions. Now, I can almost hear some of you thinking, but what if I'm dealing with someone who's truly disrespectful, someone who's not interested in mutual understanding? And it's a fair question. These strategies aren't magic spells that will instantly transform every interaction into a harmonious exchange of ideas. But here's the thing. Even in the face of disrespect, these verbal strategies serve a purpose. They allow you to maintain your own integrity and composure. They demonstrate to others, including bystanders, that you're the adult in the room. And sometimes, just sometimes, they can break through even the toughest defenses and create an opening for genuine dialogue. Remember, respect is not just about being liked or admired. It's about being valued for your character, your insights, and your ability to navigate complex social situations with grace and wisdom. So let's take this a step further. How do these verbal strategies apply in situations where you're not just seeking respect for yourself, but trying to foster respect among others? Perhaps you're a leader in your organization or a mediator in a conflict. How do you use your words to create an environment of mutual respect? This is where the true artistry of verbal alchemy comes into play. It's not just about using these strategies for your own benefit, but about weaving them into the fabric of your communication style in a way that elevates the entire discourse. For instance, when mediating a conflict, you might use the empathy bridge to help each party see the other's perspective. John, I can see why Sarah's actions felt disrespectful to you, given your history with similar situations. And Sarah, I understand why you felt your approach was necessary, considering the pressure you were under. Then you might use the wisdom window to invite both parties to consider a broader perspective. In my experience, situations like this often arise from misaligned expectations rather than ill intent. Perhaps if we explore the underlying assumptions each of you were working with, we might find a path forward. By consistently modeling this approach, you're not just resolving the immediate conflict. You're teaching others how to communicate more effectively. You're creating a culture of empathy, understanding, and mutual respect. But let's not kid ourselves. This isn't easy. It requires constant vigilance, a willingness to check your own ego at the door, and the courage to remain open and vulnerable even in challenging situations. It demands that we continually examine our own biases and assumptions, that we remain humble in the face of our own ignorance. And here's the real kicker. The more you practice these strategies, the more you'll realize how much you don't know. You'll become acutely aware of the vast complexity of human experience, of the myriad factors that shape each person's perspective and behavior. This realization can be profoundly humbling, but it's also incredibly liberating, because when you truly internalize the vastness of human experience, you stop trying to be right all the time. You become more interested in learning, in understanding, in growing. And paradoxically, this is when people start to really respect you, not because you have all the answers, but because you have the wisdom to know that you don't. Not because you're perfect, but because you're constantly striving to be better. So, as we conclude this second part of our exploration, I want you to reflect on this. How often do you use your words not just to express your thoughts, but to create spaces for genuine dialogue and mutual understanding? How frequently do you approach conversations with the goal of learning rather than proving yourself right? These questions aren't just rhetorical. They're invitations to a deeper level of self-awareness, to a more intentional way of engaging with the world. Because ultimately, the respect we command is a reflection of the respect we give to others, to the complexity of life, and to the endless journey of growth and learning that is the human experience.